Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. and ask that the city clerk read the statement of compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act into the record.
This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, with the meeting notice provided to the Hunterdon County Democrat, the Trenton Times, various individuals on the listserv, department heads, the city engineer, and city attorney. This meeting will be recorded and streamed live using the Zoom meeting platform. The meeting agenda offers the planned action items of the governing body to the extent known at the time of publication.
May I have a roll call,
You
please?
sure may. Councilwoman Lambert.
Here.
Councilman Sanders.
Here.
Councilman Stegman.
Here.
Council President Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Noack.
Here. All right. I would also like to welcome Keith Mencher, who is serving as the city council this evening. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And now if we would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our servicemen and women both here in the States and abroad. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
All right. Now we'll stand for a moment of silence, please.
That's no left.
Thank you. What did I say?
You left out a line.
I left out something? Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Good evening to the members of the public, both here and on Zoom. We're glad that you've joined us this evening. We have a lengthy agenda, and we'll get through it as best we can and as quickly as we can, but as carefully as we can. That's fine. No worries. All right, this evening first on the agenda we have we're going to take a look at the minutes from the March 17th, 2022 regularly scheduled meeting minutes, the March 17th, 2022 closed session meeting minutes, and the April 5th, 2022 working session meeting minutes. First of all, I'd like to thank, in particular, Councilwoman Lambert for all of the work that you do. On the minutes, you make a lot of wonderful small corrections that I'm going to get in trouble here no matter what I do because...
It's all right.
I already asked Cindy's permission to do that.
Okay, all right. So thank you for your work. Thank you for your work.
It's all right.
Are there any questions about the minutes? Okay, if there are no questions, would someone please make a motion to adopt these three sets of minutes?
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Proclamations, Arbor Day. This one is too good not to read aloud, so I am going to read the entire proclamation. It'll just be a minute. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Andrew J. Noack, Mayor of the City of Lambertville, do hereby proclaim April 29, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Lambertville. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Date of this day, the 21st of April, 2022.
1918.
All right. Go plant some trees, people.
Go for it.
Do we have a motion?
Should we make a motion to, oh, sorry, I'm sorry, it's not on my sheet, or maybe it is. May I have a motion to
So
adopt
moved.
this proclamation for Arbor Day? Thank you.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, resolutions. We're on to resolutions. Our first resolution tonight is Resolution 53-2022. This is a resolution to authorize the person-to-person transfer of alcoholic beverage control license number 1017-33-005-008 from Inn of the Hawk Masset Group Incorporated to TJ's of Hopewell Inc. for 74th South Union Street with a closing date of April 22, 2022. Are there any questions regarding the transfer of this ABC license from the Inn of the Hawk to TJ's of Hopewell? No? If not, I would ask for a motion to adopt resolution number 53-2022, authorizing the transfer of the ABC license from the Inn of the Hawk to TJ's of Hopewell, Inc. on April 22, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ward. Our next resolution is resolution number 79-2022. This is a resolution of the City of Lambertville in the County of Hunterdon, New Jersey, authorizing emergency temporary appropriations pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-20 in the amount of $569,500 to fund the 2020 roadway resurfacing program and repairs to Arnott Avenue resulting from damage caused by Hurricane Ida. So this emergency resolution we're bringing this to the council this evening for a couple of reasons. First, to fund the 2020 roadway resurfacing program, which was not funded previously, and the grant of which we will lose if we do not fund it by the end of this month. So I think it was due to come before the council in the fall, and then of course with all of the things that happened, it didn't make it. So we are now bringing that to the council for consideration for this emergency appropriation. Secondly, in this emergency appropriation, would be funding for the Arnott Avenue, the North Main Street side of the culvert, as we know, which was severely damaged in Hurricane Ida. This job, this has gone out to bid twice now. The numbers have been very high relative to what the engineer estimated, and some of that is due to rising inflationary costs and supply chain issues. So we need to authorize this money in order to move these repairs forward based on the most kind of reasonable bid that we've got, and that's that. So let's see. Yeah. And I would also note that in a little while we will be introducing bond ordinances tonight, which will fund these projects, and the city's match is required by the grant. So this just allows us the mechanism to go ahead and move forward on the projects, and then we will begin the ordinance process a little bit later in the evening. So are there any questions about this? No?
So we're combining two separate projects.
Correct.
Into a single emergency appropriation.
Yes.
So they're $300,000 each, is that,
That's correct.
okay.
Yeah.
And should both of these have been introduced in the fall? Is that what we're
No,
saying?
the 2020 road projects ideally would have been funded at an earlier date.
Okay.
You know, we're now in 2022.
Right.
I don't know all the particulars of why it wasn't funded earlier in 2020, 2021. But I know it was something that was that was being considered to move forward in the fall of 2021. It didn't happen because there were other things happening.
Right.
And the reason why we're doing the Arnett Avenue is, we're now almost 8 months into this process, and residents, we still have a lot of damage, and there's a lot of water flowing through people's backyards and their sinkholes, and we don't want to rebid this project again, or to go into negotiations. It will extend the whole process, and I felt it was very important to move this project along at this point, because it's so far down the road, so to speak.
So the particulars of those two projects are in the other ordinance?
Correct.
11/20/22. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, if not, I'll ask for a motion to authorize the special emergency as outlined in resolution number 79-2022.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. The following resolutions on a consent agenda are considered routine and shall be enacted by one motion. Should any member of the city council seek separate discussion of any item, that item shall be removed and discussed separately. So I'm going to take a couple minutes just to read through these, because I think that there's a variety of things here, and it's just I don't know, it just seems like a good idea tonight, given the length of, it just feels like it's a good idea. So we have resolution number 66-2022, which authorizes the redemption of tax lien for block 1084, lot 4, in the amount of $8,665.32, plus a premium in the amount of $34,800. We have resolution number 67-2022, which is a resolution to authorize the refunds of a bulk garbage permit to Giovanna Menino of West Amwell Township in the amount of $40, and Deborah Levithan in the amount of $35. We have resolution number 68-2022, which is a resolution to award bids received on April 20 for the 2020 and 2021 road projects. We have resolution number 69-2022. It's a resolution authorizing the issuance of estimated tax bills for the third quarter 2022 taxes. We have resolution number 70-2022, which is a resolution requesting a dedication by rider for the sale of architectural style handbook to benefit the Historic Preservation Commission. There's resolution number 71-2022. It's a resolution to authorize the sale of public property no longer needed for public use. The next is resolution number 72-2022. It's a resolution to authorize the submission of a grant application to the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Permission for car charging stations. Resolution number 7.
Department of Environmental Protection.
And yeah, okay, thank you for saying that.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, what was
I
it?
was like, I've never heard that department as I was reading.
It's
Department of Environmental Protection.
Oh,
You're correct.
So, thank you. 73-2022 is a resolution authorizing a dedication by rider for the Human Rights Commission to accept donations and sell signs. And the last few here are 74-2022. It's a resolution of the City of Lambertville in support of clean water, healthy families, and good jobs. Resolution number 75-2022 is a resolution requesting permission of the dedication by rider for donations required by NJS 41A:5-29 for the senior group. Resolution 76-2022, a resolution authorizing the foreclosure of a lien for 310 North Union Street. Resolution 77-2022, a resolution to award the bids received for the Upper Arnett Stormwater Conveyance System emergency repairs. The lowest bid on this was $269,500. And resolution number 78-2022. This is a resolution to authorize the tax collector to prepare a duplicate certificate of sale for unpaid municipal liens for block 1069, lot 1, 113 Swan Street. And finally, resolution number 79-2022. This is a resolution to authorize the refund of overpayment of a construction permit to Nice Lumber for 3 Elm Street in the amount of $4,205. How do you like them apples?
Yeah, Mayor, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah, on resolution 68, the title says it's to Earl Asphalt, but the resolution portion says that it's to Top Line, if I read it correctly.
I'm sorry, that's
It-
my.
It is to Top Line, you are correct. And it
Okay.
was my error initially.
Okay, I just want to, and then the other one was on on resolution 72. We're not deciding the location of the charging stations. It's just reflecting the recommendation from the Environmental Commission. Is that what we're doing here
No.
tonight?
No, we are deciding the location of the charging stations. This application, grant application would designate 4 spaces in the North Union Street parking lot specifically. And that location was chosen for a couple of reasons. I think primarily because it's out of the flood hazard area. So that's, I think, the principal one, and it's because of its central location. Am I missing anything, Cindy, there?
Yes, and the other thing is because we want to make sure that it's close to a JCP&L pole. So otherwise, we'll pay a lot of money for them to run the line. And so the line comes right through the back of St. John's parking lot where Mitchell's is, and there's a pole there. The pole may need to be replaced, but still, it came in to be like $7,000, which is a totally separate grant. But this location would allow us to put it in a place where it doesn't require additional digging up of, the ground and also running additional wire.
And then these spots will not be available to people who do not have electric vehicles.
That's correct?
Correct. Yeah.
This is just a grant application, we have to make the application and, then see what happens.
Okay, so just to, that's where I was going with this too, is that just for clarity, this is not the lot that's right next to City Hall. It's the lot where the old, where the fire was, right? Where the,
Correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then, so we would be losing, there would be 2 metered spots that we lose in this?
It would be 4 meter spots, and we have yet to determine whether we would actually charge for the electric use or.
Right, the Environmental Commission right now, what they did was they reached out to Reddington Township and, I'm sorry, but the other, Raritan Township, they both have installed car charging stations to see, one of them has done it in a way that you have to pay for use, and that is the goal. So that we get a car charger in some way that has, and I don't understand this word as well as I should, but that has the mechanism for people to pay, for the use. And also, the Environmental Commission has also walked out to the North Union Street a couple of times, and have given, throughout the week, they may have done it on the weekend, but those spaces are never used, or rarely used, I should say that.
Yeah, I'm not, I just want to be clear, I'm not necessarily objecting to the location. I was curious what we were voting on tonight, that's all.
Yeah,
It's just to move forward with the grant application.
Yeah.
It doesn't commit us.
Okay.
Councilman?
Oh, all right. Well, will we have to change our ordinance to ticket that? Do we have what's the fine for parking in there when you have not?
Yeah, I think we would have to amend our ordinance.
That's correct,
Yeah.
we would have to, but we can't do that
Until we
know
Right.
the particulars.
And the 4 rather than 2 or 3? How did the 4?
So it's 2 units, and each unit charges 2 cars. That makes sense.
2 charging units
For 4 cars.
for 4 cars.
Right.
For a
Correct.
total,
So
one on
it's-
either side.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're losing 4 spaces in that lot.
Well, we're not losing them.
No, because,
They just are restricted to use by electric vehicles.
We're losing 4 meters. in that.
well, that was a question I was
We
But
going
we're
to
can-
ask.
saving the environment.
We can still collect the parking
Well,
fees.
why wouldn't,
Yeah. there's
why
no-
wouldn't they
right,
pay
Right,
for use, juice and space, basically, right?
sure.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, I would not offer it for free.
no, I would, no.
No, and
And
that's
I
exactly,
think, I think it's, great to have these, but at the same time, if you don't charge for the electricity, it's like going to the gas station for free. I mean, it's a cost associated with the vehicle.
Right, and I know that's one of their key focuses.
Hmm. Well,
Okay.
I think I know we're applying for a grant, and in this grant to do this, if we decide after we get the grant that we can put them elsewhere, can we do that instead of using that lot?
I have not read the grant application specifically. I don't know the answer to that
There's
question.
almost never a grant that you can't work with your program officer on and amend it. I would be shocked if they would said no.
Right, it's just a little, I'm concerned about the location, that's all.
I do have something about the electric charging stations with me, but I don't know how much detail it has.
Well, that's what, I mean, it'll have what it has, I'm concerned about not having 4 additional parking spots in the center of town in one location.
Yeah, this really doesn't give me a lot of info about it.
That's okay.
We can also, I mean, we have time. We can reject the grant if it's awarded and we find out there's not flexibility.
Right.
This is just to let us get it in.
What's the
Yeah.
deadline on what's the deadline on getting the grant?
I believe it's May 13th that we have to have.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
To have it because of the deadline.
Right. So, one of the other reasons they picked this area is because, it's out of the flood zone. But it's in the central business district where you have a lot of visitors, maybe you have renters, that wouldn't be able to, own their home, so they wouldn't be able to, install one. But I don't believe that, if you got the grant, that you wouldn't, like Council President Taylor said, you wouldn't be able to make amendments to it.
I guess I'd just add too that it's like, it may seem like we're losing spots, but it's, you're also rewarding, good conduct by, folks buying these vehicles, and probably in another 10 years, we won't even bat an eye at this sort of thing. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just I was just trying to understand what we were voting on.
You mentioned renters. I think we need to think about the cost a renter would pay to use a metered facility, charging station, right? Because other people can buy parking permits. Does that change our whole parking, does that affect our
It
parking?
certainly may.
Yeah, I think we'd want
But at this point, it's just putting in for the application, to get it approved. They're still in the fact-finding phase where they're gathering a lot of information.
Right, okay.
Is there enough concern among any council members to pull this out? Or
Oh,
can we move with it as amended?
I definitely want to, I think it's great that we're doing this and supporting this. I think it's necessary. I think we have to do it in some ways. I support moving forward. I just wanted to get a sense about what the thinking was and what we were tying ourselves to in this decision.
Well, I would support it if what we've said tonight is possible to do about reexamining the location of where these are going.
This is just the application, so even if it's awarded, we can turn it down if we find out that it doesn't meet our needs. So that we don't have to take it if it's given to us.
I don't like that. I don't want to be in a position where I vote against something that we've already been approved to receive a grant for. I've been through that once already in past years, so I think we should think about the location. And the amount of work that they put into this is great, but
So let me ask you this, Councilman, do you want to pull this out of the consent agenda and vote on it separately?
you can.
But no, I'm asking you. I think you're
Oh,
gonna-
whether
Yeah,
I want
you
to.
would be the person who, it sounds like, who would prefer to pull this.
I would rather pull it out.
Okay, so
and
we're
vote
gonna,
on it separately.
we're gonna remove this, let's see, where is it? We're gonna remove resolution number 72-2022 from the consent agenda, and we will deal with that in a moment. Are there questions about the remaining items on the consent agenda? If-
And before, we're going to vote on that after we vote on
Correct.
this? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have a comment after we vote on other.
Okay. If there are no other comments or questions, would someone make a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. So, moving on to resolution number 72-2022, as pulled out of the consent agenda. Are there further questions or comments on this?
Yeah, I'm concerned if which other locations were considered. There's a parking lot by the school right on Main Street.
The floods. We did discuss those.
We discussed the, we discussed
There's
this
a
a lot,
parking lot
obviously.
what about the parking lot on Mount Hope Street? Or the street parking on Mount Hope Street by the park?
I don't think that they thought about that.
No.
See, I'm concerned about, listen, I'm all for charging stations. I'm concerned about, and I'm not talking about losing revenue from the parking meters, I'm talking about losing 4 spaces in the central business district's parking lot. So that's kind of where I'm coming.
Okay.
Councilman, have you heard business owners express any concerns?
I haven't heard anything.
You haven't heard anything?
No.
So the concern would be that these 4 spots are only available to electric vehicles and they're in a high traffic area.
What's my concern?
Okay.
Having had a business in town for many years, I know that lot may not be used during the week a lot, nor are parking meters in the city, but on a Friday and a Saturday night, they're definitely, with the restaurants and all, it's very difficult to find a spot, and we're taking X percentage out of the loop.
There are also quite a lot of electric vehicle drivers around now.
And they're right.
Quite a lot of electric vehicles driving into town these days, though.
Well, that's good.
It is good, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, I share your concern to a degree, but I don't think these spots are gonna sit empty.
And Council President, I think I heard you say that we potentially have the option to renegotiate these locations, or you don't know, or?
That would be
I
my guess.
Okay.
It's rare to have a grant say you can't come back to us with new information,
Well,
but I can't say for sure.
do we have to stipulate the location in the grant? Maybe we get around it that way.
It is stipulated currently, and
Okay.
it's based on information that we need in terms of electrical loads and
Oh,
other
okay.
features or factors in the application.
Right.
So, I would just remind everybody that this is only for the purposes of submitting an application, that if we get the grant, we can say, we don't like the location, and if you're not going to be flexible, we do not accept the grant. So this is really just, it's just a way for us to move forward with a process that we can reject or accept at a later date.
Right, so we need to have some sort of baseline to assess what this is gonna cost in terms of how we think, so we know how much money to ask for,
Well,
basically.
they need to know that we're a worthy grantee, that we actually have a plan.
Yeah, and that we've done our homework, right. Because we can't just say, how much money you got, I'll take that amount. We have to say, this is why we think we need
So-
this amount of money.
To be clear, the grant is for the car charging stations only. So we would have to apply for another grant, and that's what they're doing through First Energy, the First Energy Foundation, for the installation of the wires, and then we'd have to also pay an electrician, because the JCP&L will only run it to the pole. Then we have to have our electrician run it from a box to the actual stations.
Right.
And so, in order to get a fee, do a cost analysis, and to determine the best location, met with JCP&L, went through everything, and also discussed the grant, which will have to be written as well.
Right.
They went to the site, and there's about half a dozen ways this thing could not happen. We're just allowing it to be a possibility if we vote yes on this.
So if we were to change the location after we receive this grant and we decide on a different location, I'm trying to think what would be where would the variable be that could possibly be a negative impact for us? Like say, I don't know how much you get, $75,000, let's just say. That's the number we have to work with to purchase these car charging stations, which cost $37.50 each, right?
So the
And
variable
the
is,
location really isn't tied to that purchase.
it is only in that you want to put it in a place where you can get the electric easily to it.
But I'm just.
And you're talking about a 120, 240 line that you need to have for these. And
Right.
so there are holes throughout town that don't have that load.
Okay,
And so if it doesn't have that load, then JCP&L has to run more of a line.
Mhm.
So that's, I think, the variable that you're
Okay.
looking at.
Right, because I was thinking, well, you buy the equipment, right, you buy the device,
Mhm.
the two stations, and then you have to figure out how to install it, and that's where additional costs, which are not part of this grant, factor in.
How does a handicap, suppose we have the station, are we required to have one of those charging stations for handicap vehicles?
I don't think so, but the way these particular parking spaces are laid out, they're the four closest to the end, and the last space near the end of the parking lot is a double, not a double, but it would probably, it can't accommodate the handicap space requirement. So we could, potentially, I mean, we'd have to measure it.
It's like a space in 3/4. but not-
And a lot of City Hall wasn't looked at? Or was it looked at?
No, it was not looked at. I think they were really looking at the central business district, and although they did look at Ely Field and considered that, but you also have a parking lot that's gravel there and not in the best condition. So,
It doesn't bother me so much. We put handicap spot in there and it's blacktop.
Right, I think that we hopefully have enough information to move this conversation to a vote. Is everybody comfortable
Yeah.
moving this conversation into a vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
And just before you
Yeah.
vote, I'd be glad to vote.
Mhm.
Has the Chamber of Commerce been involved in any of this stuff?
I'm not sure,
Well,
to be honest
I
with
think
you.
there are so many loose ends here that, that we need to explore before I can vote yes. And I'm not trying to stop anything, but I don't think enough information has been gathered.
Before you can vote yes on applying to the grant?
I would only vote yes if we knew that we could change the location further down the line.
Okay.
That's kind of where
I'm not sure that we can.
I know, that's the thing, we
Well,
may
it's-
not be able to do
It's
that.
very highly likely that we can. We just can't say beyond that.
But what we can say is that we can refuse the grant. We can go through the whole process and then say, we're not gonna take it because it doesn't meet what we need or what we want. So, is there a motion to adopt resolution number 72-2022, a resolution to authorize the submission of a grant application to the state of New Jersey of environmental protection?
Sorry.
Yeah, for car charging stations.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
Okay, thank you, please note that.
and with my reasoning behind not approving it.
Let's see. Now, I believe we're onto the bills list. Has everybody had a chance to look at the bills list? And if so, if there are no questions, I'd like a motion to approve the bills list as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of approving the bills list, vote, say aye.
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 Thank you. No one opposed. Moving on to first reading of ordinances, first reading introduction of ordinances. First one under consideration this evening is ordinance number 07-2022. This is amending the Lambertville City Code 2014 to include a handicap parking space in front of 1 Washington Street. Are there any questions about this? Okay, if there are no questions, will someone make a motion to, on first reading, adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Are there any opposed? No? Okay, thank you. Next is ordinance number 08-2022. This is an ordinance to amend the Lambertville City Code 2014, Chapter 7, Stop Intersection, to include a stop sign at the intersection of Swan and Stutterford Streets in the city of Lambertville, County of Hunterdon, State of New Jersey. So this is something we talked about a little bit, I think, in our last meeting. There was some conversation about it, and does anybody have any, at this time, have any questions or concerns or comments about this, this introduction?
I do.
Yes.
This will be my night. The privet hedge on the corner has to be either trimmed down so there's a sight line there, no matter what we do on that intersection, a stop sign, you cannot see to proceed on that street. And this is not, it's an annual thing. As long as we're addressing the stop sign, I think we have to look into having the owner trim it back or trim it low, just so the sight line isn't blocked.
Okay.
I think that's a major concern.
I've mentioned it to the owner. The owner knows that this is an issue. Cindy, do you know if there is any language in an ordinance that would specifically require an owner to, I mean, we can find this out, and if there's,
Yes. I'm pretty sure we do.
Okay.
I think it's in one of our police ordinances, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
we've done it before.
Yeah.
So either myself, or Cindy or Lester, I can send a letter out, either one.
okay,
Well, in order to, if we're going to proceed this way, I think we have to identify what other intersections are blocked by.
not
I
tonight,
only
we
see
don't.
the one because I pass it ever.
Yeah, but not
Right.
tonight. I
No.
mean, this can be a project that any one of us can take on as a special service to the city,
No,
to the residents and the drivers.
I mean, they're, you know, I know there are several other ones.
Well, the city is dealing with this with a number of residents in terms of sidewalks. I've already sent letters to people who have sidewalks who are, you know, so there's,
Alright, well-
there are things that I'm doing to encourage people to maintain their properties in a way that creates an environment of safety for pedestrians and drivers. So we will continue this. If there is an ordinance which will dictate or necessitate or suggest that we require the owners to cut that hedge to a certain level, we will do it, right? So we'll, Cindy, I would ask you to follow up with me tomorrow, and I will either delegate the appropriate authority to send the letter to the owners in question, or I will do it myself, okay?
I got it.
So, these are, but no, I think Councilman Stegman, and it seems like I'm being sarcastic or something, but these are quality of life issues. They're absolutely noted, and whether it's a hedge at the corner of Stutterford and Swan, or an overgrown hedge on Buttonwood and North Union, these are important issues to people, so
I didn't think you were being sarcastic.
okay, well, I felt like I was being a little bit
No,
You were just
No.
speaking
You got
very
away with
officious
it.
manner.
vicious. Yeah, vicious.
You got away with it.
Well, thank you. I almost got away with it, then I ratted myself out.
You ratted yourself out, that's right.
Anyway, see what everybody's missing by
if
not
I'm
coming to
not
these
smiling,
meetings?
it means I'm not
All right.
smiling, I'm
Yeah.
smiling,
No.
so we're fine.
Okay, we will take care of that.
Thank you.
So can we get back to the stop sign?
Motion, we need a motion.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't know if there were any other comments about the stop sign.
No, bring it
Okay.
on.
All right, if there are no other comments or questions from the council about the stop sign, I would love a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor of a stop sign at the corner of Stutterford and Swans, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay. Fascinating, fun stuff. Next, we have ordinance number 09-2022. This ordinance will amend the Lambertville City Code 2014, Chapter 14, Streets and Sidewalks, to include provisions for utility work, amend fees, and other sections of the code. So we also talked about this, I think, at a previous meeting. This is really designed for the utility companies to make sure that they are, kind of doing everything that we need them to do. My favorite part of this amended ordinance is that the city shall impose a 5-year moratorium on all road work completed within the city limits. I think that's very good for, we talk about quality of life. We saw this last year on George Street when they finally got the street paved and somebody else dug it up like 2 months later. So this is my favorite part of this, and thank you to Cindy for recommending it. I think it's a good one. So are there questions or comments from the council about this ordinance? Okay, if not, may I have a motion to adopt in first reading this ordinance?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Ordinance number 10-2022. This is an ordinance of the City of Lambertville authorizing the sale of city-owned real property no longer necessary for a public purpose and establishing the procedures therefore concerning Block 1070, Lot 13 on the tax maps of the city, more commonly known as 150 Swan Street. So members of the public will note that the council has had conversations in past meetings about moving forward with the sale of some municipal properties. We know that we're going to have a difficult budget year this year, and the council, I'm interested in potentially moving some of these properties into the bank account and also onto the tax rolls. So there are 3 properties that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of months that have already been identified. So this is the first one. This is 150 Swan Street. So are there questions or comments from the council on this? If not, may I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion carries. The next ordinance number is 11-2022. This is a bond ordinance providing for various road improvements in and by the city of Lambertville in the county of Hunterdon, New Jersey, appropriating $600,000 therefore and authorizing the issuance of $585,713 in bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof. So this is specifically that this will fund the special emergency repair for the 2020 road projects and the Arnett Avenue project as well on the Main Street side. So that's the second, the FEMA. So are there any questions on this? Since we've just passed the special emergency, it seems like this might be a fairly straightforward vote up for the council. If there are no questions, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
And may I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Ordinance number 12-2022. This is a bond ordinance providing a supplemental appropriation of $35,000 for improvements to Grant Avenue and Allen Streets in and by the city of Lambertville in the county of Hunterdon, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $35,000 in bonds or notes of the city to finance the cost thereof. So this is this will amend ordinance number 05-2022 and add an additional $35,000 to the bond to fund the 2021 road projects. So this is just an incremental rise in the cost of the project, and so we need to fund this amount to complete the 2021 road projects. Any questions? All right, if not, may I have a motion to introduce on first reading? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Ordinance number 13-2022. This is a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the city of Lambertville in the county of Hunterdon, New Jersey, appropriating $1,100,000 therefore and authorizing the issuance of $1,047,618 in bonds or notes of the city to finance part or the cost thereof. The following items. I'm just going to read through these just so, I know we'll talk more about these probably in detail. Well, we may talk about them tonight, but we'll probably talk more about them next time, if there is a next time. A coin counter for the police department, $3,000. Live scan fingerprint system, $26,000. Technology, software, and hardware upgrades, about $30,000. Repairs to Washington Street, $165,000. Catch basin repairs, $5,000. Quarry Street repairs, $150,000. The Quarry Street Hillside, $20,000. York Street, $82,500. The Justice Center exterior, $7,500. The Malloy Tract, $5,000. Stryker Street, $31,000. Alexander Avenue Culvert, $18,000. The Alexander Creek Waterway, $45,000. A Ford Explorer SUV, $60,000. A garbage truck for $250,000, and an F-30 pickup for $80,000. Just a couple of notes about this bond ordinance. A number of these items, specifically anything that's got a road attached to it, is related to Ida damage. This will be FEMA grants. We're coming to a close on our FEMA paperwork, I'm pleased to say. We will have a 90% match on all of these road projects. So while we will be bonding, we will be getting 90% back on anything that is Ida related. So that's Washington Street, the catch basin repairs, Quarry Street, the Quarry Street Hillside is not FEMA eligible. York Street is, the Justice Center is, the Malloy Tract, Stryker Street, the Alexander Avenue Culvert, the pickup is Ida?
The Ford yes, and it's an F-300.
The F-300.
Or 350,
Okay.
F-350.
F-350, that's an Ida, so the other items are not. The other items, such as the garbage truck, we'll talk about in more detail next time. Well, I'll just mention that our backup garbage truck dates in 1990. Other garbage trucks 2009, which makes them 13 years old. We've had repeated issues with one of the garbage trucks since I've been mayor, substantial repairs, hydraulic lines bursting on the street. It's time to buy a garbage truck. So these are all worked into this ordinance, and we can talk more about this. If anybody has any questions now, I'm happy to answer them. But
I have one question.
Yeah.
Number 3, the technology, is that specific to a department aside or just in
I'm going to
general?
let Cindy speak to that.
It is mostly City Hall, but a lot of it is rewiring, because, over the years, we have not rewired the whole building.
Mhm.
So we have phones that won't work anymore because the wiring along the way, for some reason, frayed or whatever. So it's wiring. It includes some servers, and it includes software. It also includes $5,000 in this budget year for the transition from paper to electronic.
Yeah. Record keeping.
So
Okay.
we are beginning to transition.
So it's for city.
Yeah, that's why they just lumped it all into one, but
Okay.
it's mostly City Hall rewiring. I think that's going to be a lot.
Yeah, that'll be a lot.
Okay.
And the server, we're just relocating it, or is it a new upgrade to a server?
Both, we're relocating it from the basement up to the clerk's
Yeah,
office.
good to get it out of the base.
Yeah, when it's hot, humid, and whatever.
Yeah.
So we're relocating it, but we're also, we're talking about maybe not having a physical server, but you have an off-site server,
Mhm.
so that you're not actually paying hardware. And forgive me because I don't understand all of the technology, but we're really just in the beginning stages of discussing that.
Yeah. There was a question I was going to ask about the technology. You said 5,000 for, the document, electronic
Yes.
documents. Does that mean we're using some sort of
Right.
file server, like Dropbox,
No.
something like that? What
Nope.
does that mean, document,
So there are
electronic document?
Digitizing all our varsity records.
Somebody's going to stand there at a scanner?
So there's a company that will come in,
Okay, we'll do
and
that.
so what we'll do is we'll slowly chip away at it,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
We'll go as far as we can with the thought that we would start with construction records because they are the ones that are most actively sought after.
uh-huh,
So, and then, so what they will do is they will come in with the scanner, they will take them out of the building, scan them, bring them back, and then teach us at the same time, so that from whatever date we pick forward, we're scanning our documents and
Mhm.
saving them in the same format. They also will walk us through getting our approval, because we have to get approval from the Division of Archives and Records Management.
so is there some software application involved here? Okay, okay. there
Because
is.
it's all gotta be done
Right,
in a
right.
manner prescribed by the state.
Right, because if you stand at a scanner and you scan everything, you'll never find it again.
Well,
If you
not
don't, like,
only
if it's not
that,
organized and indexed and,
right,
metatagged.
but you are not legally allowed to get rid of the paper if you do that and you have not followed the state's guidelines
Right,
that
To
allow you
get rid
to
of the
do it.
paper.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
there's,
So there's a company
Okay, good.
called
So, okay.
Forbonics or something like that. There
Oh,
are two-
Phobionics.
Phobionics, thank you. So,
Okay.
So,
But
yeah,
it's basically a
Where'd that
document
come from?
management application. Perfect.
this is the beginning of a multi-year,
Yeah.
expensive
Yeah.
project. We have hundreds of boxes of municipal records in the cellar and in the attic, and as long as I'm mayor, I'm committed to moving us into a digitalization of our municipal records for a variety of reasons. Just the sheer bulk of paper records posing what I would imagine is a hazard in the building.
well, it's a
So,
hazard, and not only that, but if, you know, they're in the basement, right? So in the basement, if you have a water leak, that's what we have, you have records all over the place, but you have big pieces of plastic covering everything.
Right.
So if I need a record, I take everything off and then look for it and then put everything back
Yeah.
on.
Well, the risk of loss of the paper documents is high. Right, and it's not recoverable, obviously.
and especially in the construction office, because
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
we've instituted certain searches that have to be done when you sell a house, or
Mhm.
so, and it's becoming encumbered because there's no actual digital footprint for these, and it's, I mean, it's gotta take time, and
It's
people have
going to
to
speed
go
things up
through
when
this
we're
stuff.
done too.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
speed things up, it'll clean the building up, it'll get the weight off the floor in a very old building, so all of those are
Yeah.
very important.
Okay.
so stay
Hey,
tuned.
can I ask a quick
Yes.
question?
Please.
On number 3, for the Washington Street, how far up the street does it get paved? Is it past the old high school?
Yeah, you know, the Department of Public Works made some fairly substantial short-term improvements on that road this late in the winter time. This $165,000 is what's been identified as FEMA-related damage. This road probably hasn't been paved in 30 years. I don't know. It's a mess. I go up there pretty regularly just to offer some support. So, you know, I'm not sure to the extent that $165 is going to be $165,000. You know, this is principally to deal with Ida-specific damage, and you know, the storm drain, or I forget what it's called. Anyway, we'll get as far as we can. We'll get as high as we can. The top of the road right now is in pretty good shape because the Department of Public Works has gone up there with a lot. They really packed it with millings, but it's the whole road is in a terrible state, and we'll do what we can to get it as good as we can with what we've got. I have to say, actually, I'm not going to say this in a public meeting, but the FEMA engineers were very cooperative and understanding. Let's just leave it at that.
If I may add to on that a bit, there's a problem that has not been addressed on Washington Street, and it's getting worse, and it's the retaining wall that holds up the road that we want to spend $150,000 on. So the issue is, who owns that block stone, and who's responsible for stabilizing it? Because we should just find out whose responsibility. I'm not saying that we should do it tomorrow or somewhere, but whose responsibility is, because it's
Sure.
falling down to 29.
Yeah, we can measure that. I can get out there with the engineer, and we can make a determination of whether that's the city's right of way or whether that belongs to.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Sure.
And there's no hedge there, so I'm okay.
Yeah. All right, the other two notes, I'm sorry, Councilman Sanders, did you have any other questions?
I did, just on the discussion around I don't want to get sidetracked too much any more than we have, but the phone system that we have, is it analog or is it digital? I mean, we're talking about the
Digital.
rewiring. Okay,
Digital, so it takes a wire for, a computer, that type.
okay.
The only other two things I would note on this list are the Quarry Street Hillside and the Alexander Creek Waterway. So, those two projects were not approved by, the Quarry Street Hillside is the big gash on Quarry Street where the trees came down, and I'm still dealing with that. We have somebody coming out to take care of the tree work in early May, and I found a contractor who's submitting a proposal. So that work should be done, I think, in the next 6 weeks or so. That was not something that was eligible for any kind of FEMA reimbursement, so we are dealing with that full cost. The Alexander Creek Waterway, I've talked about this repeatedly. We have worked and sought financial grants and support from, I could spend 2 minutes listing all the different agencies, and we have been unable to come up with that. So we did get someone from DEP to come out and give us a sediment expert from DEP. She looked at the creek, she gave us what she thought was a reasonable estimate for debris removal from the creek. So we put this into this ordinance. I'm going to continue to work up until the time when we need to get the work done, and then if we can't find somebody else to pay for it, we're going to pay for it. But it's got to be done, I think, before September. So one way or another, that's going to happen. So those are the only other two things I would just highlight on this.
I have a question about number 6, the Quarry Street.
Yep.
Does this include taking all that gravel off the hill that was put up to give them access to take care of the trees and stuff? No, they didn't. Quarry.
This is the stretch of road between the West Amlin Municipal Line and the DPW that is very
Oh, I'm
badly
sorry, I was
damaged.
thinking another street.
Right.
Sorry.
So this is the road
No.
project.
Never
You're
mind.
thinking about the waterfall at 29.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking
I
of.
think
Yeah.
that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
DOT paid for that and saved us about probably
Are they
10.
gonna,
No.
it's just gonna stay gravel?
Yep.
That thing?
It's fine with me. It's an access point now up there to that, if there's ever a problem again.
And the owners of the property they gave us permission
They
to
did.
do that?
They even wrote me a thank you note. So, we're good. All right.
Okay.
What, I'm sorry, did you have something else to say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, so they, just to follow it to the end, so they have seen the gravel and the way it is and.
They have,
Yeah.
they wrote to me and they said that they were pleased with the project and the way it all turned out.
Wonderful.
Yeah, they did.
Good.
So, yep. I was in touch with them all along the way. They were out in California, we had conversations, we exchanged emails, they're perfectly satisfied.
Okay. And they've seen it and they're fine with it?
They are,
Okay.
absolutely. Good, all right, I'm gonna ask for a motion to introduce this ordinance now. It's number 13-2022 on first reading.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
All right, no one's opposed, so the motion will carry. Thank you, I'm sure we'll have more conversation about that next month. Next is ordinance
Thank you,
number,
I was thinking so long.
next is ordinance number 04-2022. This is an ordinance to amend the Lambertville City Code 2014, Chapter 7, Police Regulations to include traffic regulations implemented by the state of New Jersey for Route 29. So we talked about this last time. Before I open this up to the public for any comments, do we have any questions from the council? Sorry, this is a second reading. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember saying it. All right, if there are no questions or comments from the public, from the council, I will open this up for a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this ordinance in the room? All right. right, are there any members of the public online who might wish to speak to this ordinance?
There are no hands raised.
Okay.
Yeah, how many do we have?
How many, Mike, I'm sorry, how many people do we have online, please?
We have 8.
8, okay. Can you note that in the record, please?
Mhm.
All right, hearing no request from the public to speak on this ordinance, may I have a motion to close the public hearing? May I have a motion to close the public? Second?
Second.
All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
I,
All right, and now I will ask for a motion to adopt ordinance number 04-2022 on second reading, which would grant it final approval.
So moved.
Second? All right, all in favor? Aye.
I,
All right, the motion carries unanimously. Moving on, we have ordinance number 05-2022. This is an ordinance to amend the Lambertville City Code 2014, Chapter 12, Public Works Department, Section 2.9, weeds, shrubbery, clippings, limbs, branches, and other garden waste collection to be made by Public Works.
I can't stop laughing about this because shrubbery, all I think of is Monty Python. Sorry, as soon as I started reading this, I was laughing.
I think you're very familiar with.
Shall I say it with an English accent? Shrubbery.
And a little rabbit.
Yeah, a little rabbit, we talked about that this week too. It's just a little bunny rabbit.
Sorry.
The mayor encourages all of the members of the public to watch Monty Python. Oh, gosh, aren't you glad you came tonight, Keith? So much more interesting than doing whatever you were gonna probably do at home, I don't know. Yeah. All right, so I read this into the record by title, and I would love to open this to public hearing. Are there any members of the public present who would wish to speak on this ordinance? Okay, no members of the public. Mike, do we have anybody online who wishes
Nobody
to
has their
speak?
hands raised.
Nobody has their hands raised. Okay, great. May I have a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance number 05-2022?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing the public hearing for this ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, so now I would like to have a motion to adopt on second reading ordinance number 05-2022.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion carries unanimously. All right, the next one is ordinance number 06-2022. This is a bond, I'm going to read this, stick with me here. A bond ordinance providing for watershed protection improvements in the area of Swan Creek and Ely Creek, which is Upper York Street, in and by the city of Lambertville in the county of Hunterdon, New Jersey, appropriating $1.79 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $48,570 in bonds or notes to the city to finance part of or the cost thereof. Stick with me here. I'm going to inform everybody that the funding amounts in this ordinance need to be revised to match the grant so that the city can complete the project. So basically what happened here in our need to revise this ordinance is that we determined because of the way this grant is funded that we did not need to borrow the whole amount. And so we will not borrow the whole amount. We're seeking to basically borrow about $500,000 in cash to facilitate the our share, to facilitate paying for the, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I've lost it here. I was ready to explain this so succinctly. Basically, we only need about $500,000 to move this grant through the entire process as opposed to funding the entire grant. It's not like FEMA. It's not as if we have to pay the entire thing up front and then get reimbursed. We get reimbursed on a rotating basis as we cycle through the bill process. So this is more it's more about what we need to have cash on hand, the cash flow thing, rather than needing the full amount. So that may have generated some questions. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. I suppose actually what I should read is the is the new language on this. So the new language on ordinance number 06/2022 as amended is a bond ordinance providing for watershed protection improvements in the area of Swan Creek and Ely Creek, Upper York Street, in and by the city of Lambertville in the county of Hunterdon, New Jersey, appropriating $1.921 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $476,189 in bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof. So did I confuse anybody with my explanation on this?
The only thing, Mayor, and I'm not sure if you said this, so I apologize, but we will be amending this, and so the actual public hearing will be on May 3rd.
Correct, thank you. And the reason why we're amending this as opposed to just throwing out the ordinance is that it allows us to do this in a shorter time period. So if we, if we just kind of tossed out the ordinance and had to start all over again, the period would be so long that we would risk not being able to pay our first bills when the project starts. As everybody knows, this, well, maybe not everybody knows, this project must be complete by August 30th, and so this grant will be completely closed out probably by, let's say, November, if we're optimistic. So everything will be done in the calendar year, and that's part of the reason, that's why we don't need to borrow the full amount. So, thank you for clarifying that process question, Cindy, that process issue.
I just have a general question to clarify. So this debt, this $500,000 basically that we're borrowing,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
As we get reimbursed, we submit invoices and we get reimbursed.
Mhm.
Will that go to repay this debt?
No, because it's basically our share of it's basically our 25% of the cost share for the whole project,
Okay.
roughly,
Okay.
right? So the whole project costs 1.8 million, and our cost share is 400 and something thousand. So this money represents our cost share plus a
Okay.
little bit of a buffer. We wanted to build in a little bit of a buffer because of the cash flow. We don't know how this project is gonna, there could be some months where the bills are greater than other months, and
Yeah.
so we put in a little bit of a buffer there.
So we're gonna take this money that we would have had to pay at the anyway,
Right.
and we're gonna get it, and we're gonna fulfill our obligation using this money.
Right.
And the rest will be covered by the.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
it's just a different process to make.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand
Yeah,
the whole cash flow.
yeah, that's an interesting, process to find that out. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Not at all. There was a lot of work and conversation and meetings on this week, and thank you to Cindy in particular. There was a lot going on. But it was good that we were able to get to this point and borrow only what we need, because if we had borrowed the full amount, obviously our tax rate would have increased this year, and that would have been problematic. So I'm pleased to say that we are borrowing a lot less, and we'll be able to do the project and close out the project. I've been very impressed with the USDA, the NRCS. This whole project from start to finish has been really a dream in a lot of ways. I give them a lot of credit for what their process is.
Send them a shrubbery.
If there are no other questions, I'm going to ask for a motion to amend the bond ordinance number 06/2022.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of amending the bond ordinance number 06/2022, please say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, so the motion carries. Great. On to discussion items. So this evening we have just a couple of things. We have a library board appointment I'd like to fill, if I may. The representative to the superintendent, whose name I can't recall, has stepped off the,
Smythe.
yes, Maureen Smith, Smythe? What is it?
It's Maureen Smith.
Maureen Smith has stepped off the library board. In her place, the superintendent would like to appoint Stephanie Vollmer, who has children in the district and who's familiar with the superintendent. And I would like to appoint Amy Connolly, who formerly served on the library as my representative. And I sent out a bio of Amy, and she served on the library board before, her term ended, and so she stepped off at the time, but is very eager to step back on and to begin kind of a 5-year planning process with the library board. So if there are any questions about this, I'd be happy to hear them now. All right, doesn't sound like there are any questions, so if there are none, would someone kindly make a motion to confirm the nomination of Amy Conley to serve as the mayor's representative on the library board?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, everyone in favor of this, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, once again, the motion carries. Rainbow Crosswalks, just an update on this. I met with Melissa Patterson of New Hope Celebrates last week. We met for about an hour. We had a great conversation. I expressed kind of some of the concerns that the council had about a 10-year painted crosswalk proposal. I suggested that more public input would be needed into any kind of project of this nature, of any nature that might, alter our sidewalks. She was fine with that. Crosswalks, I keep saying sidewalks, sorry, crosswalks. So they're still interested in kind of working together with the council to potentially come up with something. They now realize that there will, nothing permanent will be possible for consideration before Pride. I've encouraged them to potentially look at something temporary, maybe do chalk, let's try and do something before Pride. So Melissa is gonna give that some consideration and some thought. I'll talk to her again. We will look at maybe the potential of having a conversation with the public and with the council about doing something else longer term. So that will be a conversation that will happen throughout the spring and summer. So that's kind of where we are with that. Now we'll move on to correspondence. The only item of correspondence we have this evening is from the Hunterdon County Department of Health. Notice of pesticide control for mosquito and vector control program. Additional information can be found at the county's website as listed on the agenda. Announcements.
Before you go, are they spraying this,
We're all gonna get on our bicycles and ride behind the mosquito truck.
Help
Updating
yourself.
myself.
well, it's just because in the past, either Pennsylvania, with the air flows from Pennsylvania this way and vice versa, and there has a big continuing problem with certain type of insects that seem to be more prevalent than they used to. So I'll go on the website and see. I was just wondering if you had any insight to what they were doing.
I don't.
Oh,
I
It's
don't.
all right here.
Oh.
Look at it.
Yeah.
Spotted lantern flies,
Yeah.
spotted lantern
They
flies.
Yeah,
usually put something in the water.
There's mosquitoes, I see.
But not the bottled water.
No.
No.
Good.
I am good. All right, let's move past the mosquitoes. Announcements. Sparkle Week. The city of Lambertville is hosting Sparkle Week in 2022 with an exclamation point. This treasured event has been designed to allow our pickers to continue with this long-standing event of turning one man's trash into treasure while offsetting the budget crunch. The governing body relaxed the ordinance that assesses a fine for the placement of trash to the curb prior to 5 p.m. the night before your regularly scheduled pickup to allow the time required for our public to view and pick. So the dates are all listed here. They're all on the website. We'll be posting them regularly on Facebook and on Lambertville Matters. Zone 1 is May 10th. Zone 2, pickups, Wednesday pickups are May 11th. Zone 3, the Thursday pickups are May 19th. And Zone 4, the Friday pickups are May 20th. All right.
And there are restrictions, the regular restrictions about what you can and can't put out.
Yes,
Does the city website have?
it does.
No, a different question.
Okay.
About trash. Does the city website have one the next hazardous waste the county's doing? Is that made public for the year yet? Electronic, things we can't put out.
I can check on that. I get emails from the county personally that list all these events. So, but certainly we do as well. But there's probably a calendar that we could check.
I'm not sure. I know Mike was working on it, but he might.
Yeah,
be able-
June 11th is the next electronic recycling for the county.
Thank you, Mike.
And Mike, since you've dug into this a little bit, when is one of the rests scheduled, like paint and all, the stuff we can't put out, oil, all that.
Hazardous
used oil.
waste.
Yeah, I'll get that for you tomorrow.
And can we get it up on the website?
Yeah, of course.
Put it on our calendar, so.
Yep.
So people.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
There is an app you can get that ties you into what the city does and the county does. It's offered through the state of New Jersey, and we at one point were pushing it. So we'll take a look at that app again, because it would all come right to your phone. You must have
I must have
subscribed
signed
to
up for it, because I
Yeah.
do get all those
Yeah.
on my personal email,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it'll be helpful. Since we're talking about Sparkle, we can, it'd be a good time
Yeah, absolutely.
to bring the other stuff forward.
All right, at this point, I'd like to open the meeting up for public participation. Are there members of the public in the room who wish to address the council? Thank you. I would just like to remind the members of the public that they have about 3 minutes to speak. We will ask you to state your name and your address. We offer the opportunity for uninterrupted remarks and or questions. Just a reminder that you may not address any specific council member or any other person except by permission of the majority of the council. And I'll suspend reading the other things because I don't think we're going to have any trouble with you tonight, Mr.
Paul Stevens, 3940. I got just a couple of quick questions. I was going back looking for the Zoom meetings, postings from some of the past council meetings. What's the expectation on how soon they should be up? Because I can only find them back to about February, maybe. I'm not sure if they're even going to be in March.
So you can only find February and then back? You can
No,
find it
January and February, but for this year, I wasn't finding them. That could be me. Trust
Yeah,
me.
you know, we were uploading them, and I know we're uploading them, but it's funny because we uploaded to YouTube and
Yeah.
YouTube changed. Mike will take a look at that tomorrow, right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, because he's the one who uploads it, but then one day I couldn't find it, so he had to fix it. It's a weird way that you upload.
Maybe we could think about doing them on the city website?
It would take too much.
Oh, okay. Okay, next question.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what you're planning to prepare for the budget presentation to explain things. One thing that would help me out is I keep seeing all these appropriations for 1 point whatever million here and another so many hundreds of thousands, millions there. I'm just curious to find out where we think we're finally going to end up with the IDA repairs. The last number I heard was last year was like 7.1 million, and just putting all that together in one spot to put in context for the budget discussions would help me out.
Yeah, that's a, I'm sorry, do you have any other questions?
No, that was it.
Yeah, so that's a great idea. We have not been as organized about that. That's noted. The IDA repair costs are nowhere near what we anticipated last year. We can, Cindy, we have these numbers. Let's pull them together and we'll put them on the website. I'll put a link in next week's Lambertville Matters, and you'll have, I think, most of the costs, I think everything's in here in this bond, right?
Most of it is, but understand one thing, that a lot of this is the engineer's estimate. And what we're finding is the engineer is estimating it's something's like 250,000, but it comes through, you know, it's sometimes twice that. So, the availability of supplies, the cost of labor, everything has gone up dramatically. I mean, everybody's saying 8%. So what we'll give you is what we think it's going to be, but we won't really know until we bid the project.
But does that mean you're going to have to go back and do more appropriation, ordinances for appropriations and
So-
stuff
Hopefully
on
not.
it?
So the way, we have some flexibility here. So the way the capital bond ordinance is structured is we don't necessarily have to use that money for the garbage truck, for example, right? My priority is to get us through these big projects. The creeks have to be done by August 30th. That's first priority because otherwise we don't get the money, right? So if we need, for example, if the $500,000 in the cash flow runs short, we can take a little bit of money out of the capital bond to help us with that, right? So that's a possibility. If, for example, we get into a situation where the road work is a little bit more expensive, we can also then use the money in the capital bond for that. So what I'm hoping to do, my approach to this has been to borrow what we think we need for the capital bond, and then to hold back on, if we need to hold back on the purchases of the garbage truck and the big ticket items to get us through slightly elevated costs on the IDA projects, and that's what we'll do. So this is really about leveraging the amount of money we borrow against the priorities that we're trying to establish and the projects that I feel that we must get through this year. And my goal this year is to get through is to get through the creeks and to get through as much of the IDA repair work as possible. And that may delay some of the capital purchases. So we specifically, it doesn't seem like we're being conservative with our bonding at this moment because it's all coming in tonight. I don't anticipate anything else coming forward in the coming months. The budget will be introduced on May 3rd. We're going to continue to tweak it. There are a number of other critical questions that the council has to answer in terms of revenue. So we've done projections where I feel pretty comfortable that our appropriations in the operating budget are where they're going to be, and I'm going to be able to speak to all of those priorities at the meeting or with the public whenever they like. And then the revenue end of things is still going to be in flux. And as the council is able to talk about some of those things, which we're moving forward with the sale of property and that kind of thing. So I'll be ready to talk about this more generally on the 3rd in terms of just the regular operating budget, but this has been kind of my strategy. So I'm glad you asked the question.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Mike, are there any members of the public on Zoom who wish to ask a question or make a comment?
Nobody has their hands up, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions or comments from the public, may I have a motion to close the public participation portion of this meeting?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, at this point, I think we're ready to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good meeting.
Yes, thank you for joining us this evening, Councilman Sanders.
Yep,
Appreciate it.
thank you. Thank you.
Feeling better.
Yeah, I hope you feel better.
Yeah, thank you.